You are being disorderly and you must comply with the crew's instructions to deplane.
I have done nothing wrong. This is my seat and you have no right to remove me.
So you need to move. Now. The words didn't just cut through the first-class cabin. They detonated. Conversations snapped shut. Ice stopped clinking in crystal glasses. Even the low hum of the engines seemed to pull back, like the plane itself was holding its breath. Ethan Brooks didn't move. Seat 1A, window side. Sunlight poured in through the oval glass, painting a sharp line across his worn grey hoodie. His jeans were faded, his sneakers scuffed. On the surface, nothing about him matched the polished world of first class. And that was exactly the problem. Lauren Mitchell stood over him, spine straight, tablet in hand, her smile stretched thin like it might crack. 34. Immaculate uniform. Every strand of hair in place. But her eyes told the truth. Not confusion. Judgment. "Sir," she repeated, louder this time, making sure the surrounding rows could hear. "This section is for premium passengers only." A man in seat 2C lowered his newspaper just enough to watch. Across the aisle, a woman paused mid-sip, lips still touching the rim of her glass. 2 rows back, someone angled their phone slightly higher. Ethan looked up, slowly. His gaze was steady, measured, the kind of calm that didn't come from comfort. It came from experience. "I am a premium passenger," he said. His voice was quiet, controlled. No edge, no apology. Lauren let out a small breath through her nose, almost a laugh, but not quite. Her fingers tapped against the tablet screen, sharp, impatient. "I'm going to need you to step out of this seat," she said. "Now." Ethan reached into his jacket pocket. No sudden movements, no hesitation. He pulled out his boarding pass and held it up between them. Seat 1A, first class. For a fraction of a second, something flickered across her face. Then it hardened. That has to be a mistake. She didn't take the pass, didn't even lean in to read it. Instead, she crossed her arms slightly, shifting her weight, claiming the aisle like territory. "Let me see your ID." The cabin leaned in without moving. Ethan held her gaze. Then, calmly, he handed over both his ID and the pass. Lauren took them, but not like evidence, like suspicion. Her eyes scanned the documents too quickly, too dismissively. She tilted them toward the light, as if expecting them to reveal a flaw. Nothing did. Still, she frowned. "This doesn't look right," she said. Behind her, Jessica Harper, another flight attendant, leaned in just enough to be heard by 3 rows. "What's the issue?" she asked. Lauren didn't lower her voice. He seems confused about his seat. A few quiet chuckles rippled through the cabin. Soft, polite, dangerous. Ethan heard them, felt them. But his face didn't change. "Ma'am," he said, still seated, still calm. "There's no confusion. I booked this seat 3 weeks ago." Lauren's lips pressed into a thin line. "Sir, our system shows you purchased an economy ticket. That's incorrect." He pulled out his phone, unlocked it, and turned the screen toward her. The digital boarding pass glowed bright against the muted cabin. "First class, seat 1A, paid, confirmed." Lauren glanced at it, barely, then looked back at him, unmoved. "You'll need to move to your assigned seat in coach." Not a suggestion, a verdict. Across the aisle, the man with the newspaper shook his head slightly. "Son," he muttered, just loud enough. "No need to make this harder than it is." Lauren nodded, seizing it. "Exactly," she said. "These mistakes happen when people aren't familiar with the booking process." The words hung in the air. Heavy, deliberate. Ethan's jaw tightened, just a fraction. Then he leaned down, opened his worn leather briefcase, and reached inside. Slow, precise. He placed a sleek platinum card on the tray table in front of him. 340,000 miles flown. Platinum status, 6 consecutive years. Lauren glanced at it, dismissed it. Those can be bought online now, she said. No hesitation, no doubt. Just certainty, the wrong kind. And somewhere in the cabin, a phone camera zoomed in. Because something had just shifted. Not loudly, not visibly, but enough. Enough that the air felt different. Enough that this moment was no longer about a seat. It was about to become something much bigger. Lauren didn't step back. If anything, she leaned in closer. Sir, I'm not going to ask you again. Her voice dropped now. Lower. Sharper. Not for the cabin anymore. Just for him. You're holding up boarding. Ethan sat still, hands resting lightly on the armrests. No tension. No visible resistance. But something in the way he held himself. It didn't match the situation. Most people would have flinched by now. He didn't. I'm not holding up anything, he said quietly. You are. That landed. Not loud, not aggressive, but it landed. Lauren's jaw tightened. Her fingers curled slightly around the edge of her tablet. Behind her, Jessica shifted, glancing down the aisle. More phones were out now, not hidden anymore. Open. Recording. A man in row 3 whispered, "This is going to be a problem." He wasn't wrong. Lauren straightened, raising her voice again, reclaiming the room. "Sir, you are refusing to comply with crew instructions." There it was. The shift, from confusion to accusation. Ethan looked up at her, eyes steady. "I'm complying with reality," he said. "You're ignoring it." A few heads turned more sharply at that. The tension snapped tighter. Lauren let out a short breath, then turned on her heel. "Jessica," she said, already moving, "get the captain." That word moved faster than anything else. Captain. It traveled row by row like a signal. People sat up straighter. Phones adjusted angles. The quiet turned electric. Ethan reached for his phone. Not hurried. Not hidden. He tapped once. Then again. The screen lit up. Camera on. "For the record," he said. Voice calm. Precise. "It's 2:47 in the afternoon. Flight 447. I'm being asked to leave my assigned first-class seat despite presenting valid documentation." Lauren spun back toward him, eyes flashing. "Sir, put that phone away. I'm documenting. You're being disruptive. I'm being precise." That word hit differently. Precise. It didn't sound defensive. It sounded deliberate. Lauren opened her mouth, then stopped. Because footsteps were coming. Measured. Heavy. Controlled. Captain Michael Reynolds stepped into the aisle. 52. Silver at the temples. Uniform pressed like it had never known a wrinkle. The kind of presence that usually settled a room. "Not this time. What's going on?" he asked, not looking at Ethan. "Not yet." Lauren answered immediately. "Passenger in the wrong seat, refusing to move to coach. Simple, clean, wrong." Reynolds nodded once, then finally turned his eyes toward Ethan. A glance. That was all it took. Hoodie, jeans, worn leather briefcase, assessment complete. "Sir," he said, voice firm, practiced, "you're delaying this flight. I need you to take your correct seat immediately." Ethan didn't move, didn't raise his voice. He simply turned his phone slightly, letting the camera capture both of them. "Captain," he said, "I am in my correct seat. 1A, first class. You're welcome to verify." Reynolds didn't reach for the phone, didn't look at the boarding pass still resting on the tray table, didn't check the ID. Instead, he exhaled slowly, like a man who had seen this before. "Son," he said, tone shifting just enough to sting. "I've been flying for 15 years. I know when someone's trying to game the system." There it was. Not uncertainty. Certainty. The wrong kind. Around them the cabin shifted. Subtle but real. A businessman in row 4 closed his laptop halfway. A woman across the aisle leaned forward, brows tightening. Ethan's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. A calculation. Quiet. Exact. Then maybe, Ethan said, voice even. It's time to update your system. Reynolds's face hardened. Lauren, he said, without looking away, call ground security. A ripple moved through the cabin. Not sound, energy. Phones lifted higher. Someone whispered, "Oh, this just got serious." Ethan didn't stop recording, didn't argue, didn't plead. He simply adjusted the angle of his phone and kept documenting. Because now this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision. And every second of it was being captured. The word security changed everything. It didn't raise the volume in the cabin. It lowered it. Conversations died completely now. No whispers, no side comments. Just the quiet, sharp awareness of a line being crossed. Lauren's hand moved fast to her radio. Ground control. We need assistance at gate 23. Passenger refusing to comply. Her voice was crisp, controlled, practiced. Ethan kept recording. Steady hands, level breathing. The camera didn't shake. For the record, he said, voice even. Crew has escalated to security without verifying documentation. Lauren turned back toward him, irritation flashing into something colder. You're making this worse for yourself. Ethan didn't respond. He didn't need to, because now the entire cabin was watching, not casually, intently. The man in row 2 who had told him to move earlier shifted in his seat, suddenly less certain. The woman across the aisle pressed her lips together, eyes narrowing as she looked between Ethan and the captain. And then, footsteps, firm, measured, not rushed, not hesitant. 2 security officers appeared at the front of the cabin. One tall, broad-shouldered, late 40s, the other slightly younger, alert, scanning everything at once. They didn't carry urgency, they carried authority. What's the situation? The older one asked. Captain Reynolds answered before anyone else could speak. Passenger in the wrong seat, refusing to move, disruptive, again. Simple, clean, wrong. The officer's gaze shifted to Ethan, and paused. Not because of the hoodie, not because of the jeans, because Ethan wasn't acting like a problem. He was sitting still, composed, watching. Sir, the officer said, tone neutral. Can I see your boarding pass? Ethan handed it over without a word. No resistance, no attitude, just compliance. The officer took it, checked it carefully this time, slower than anyone else had. His eyes moved from the pass to Ethan, to the ID, then back again. A beat, then another. The younger officer leaned in slightly, reading over his shoulder. This shows first class, the older officer said. Not loud, but loud enough. Something shifted in the air. Lauren stepped in immediately, too fast. It's fraudulent, she said. He's trying to scam an upgrade. The officer didn't look at her right away. He was still looking at the boarding pass. These come directly from your system, he said slowly. How would it be fraudulent? Lauren hesitated. Just a fraction. Then recovered. These people know how to manipulate. She stopped. Too late. The word hung there. Heavy, ugly, unmistakable. These people. It landed harder than anything else she had said. Even the passengers who hadn't been fully paying attention now turned. Fully. The woman across the aisle lowered her glass completely. The businessman in row 4 leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Someone in the back whispered, "Did she just—" Ethan didn't move, but his eyes lifted and locked with the officer's. The officer understood. You could see it in the way his jaw tightened slightly, the way his posture shifted, just enough to signal something internal had clicked. He handed the documents back to Ethan. "Sir," he said, voice measured, respectful now. "Would you mind stepping off the aircraft with us for a moment? Just to verify everything with the gate, a request, not a command." Ethan nodded once. Of course, no resistance, no drama. He stood slowly, picking up his worn leather briefcase. The cabin followed the movement like a camera tracking a subject. Phones adjusted, angles changed. Someone in row 3 stood up slightly to keep him in frame. As Ethan stepped into the aisle, his phone buzzed. A message flashed briefly on the screen before he turned it face down. Board meeting moved. Emergency session. Conference room A. The woman in row 3 caught it. Her brow furrowed. Emergency board meeting. Her eyes followed Ethan as he walked. Something didn't add up. Not the clothes, not the calm, not the way he moved like none of this surprised him. The delay board outside the aircraft updated. Flight 447. Delayed. 23 minutes. Inside the cabin, Captain Reynolds exhaled, tension still tight in his shoulders. Lauren crossed her arms, trying to reclaim control of a moment that had already slipped. But the energy had changed. Completely. Because this was no longer about removing a passenger. This was about something else. Something no one had fully understood yet. And as Ethan stepped off the plane, still holding his phone, still recording, the story followed him. The gate felt colder than the cabin. Not in temperature, in tone. Ethan stepped off the aircraft and into a semicircle of eyes. Passengers had gathered, some from first class, some from the terminal. Phones were already up, recording, streaming, waiting. The older security officer stayed at Ethan's side, not close enough to restrain, close enough to signal presence. Right this way, sir. Ethan nodded and followed. No hesitation. No questions, just quiet movement through a crowd that parted without being asked. At the center stood Rebecca Collins, mid-40s, sharp posture. Years in the airline had carved authority into her stance. Clipboard in hand, radio clipped to her shoulder. She didn't look rushed. She looked ready. "What's the hold-up?" she asked, without greeting. The officer handed her the documents. "Passenger verification," he said. Rebecca took them. Boarding pass. ID loyalty card. Her eyes moved over each item with deliberate slowness. Slower than Lauren, slower than the captain. This wasn't dismissal, this was theater. She looked up at Ethan, then back down again, then up. "Mr. Brooks," she said. The name landed differently in the crowd. Personal, specific. Everything appears to be in order. A ripple moved through the people watching. Subtle, but real. The woman from row 3 stepped closer, phone steady. The businessman from row 4 crossed his arms, attention locked. Ethan said nothing. He was waiting. Because this wasn't over. Rebecca shifted her weight slightly, adjusting her grip on the clipboard. "However," she continued, tone tightening just enough, "given the crew's concerns about your behavior, we're going to reseat you in coach for this flight." There it was. Not confusion, not mistake, decision. Ethan's eyes lifted. "What behavior?" he asked. "Simple. Direct." Rebecca didn't blink. "You've been argumentative with flight crew. I provided documentation. You refused to comply. I refused to move from a seat I paid for. Each sentence hit clean, measured. No overlap. No emotion." Rebecca's expression hardened. "Sir, arguing with me isn't going to help your situation." Around them, the crowd leaned in tighter. Phones angled. Someone whispered, "This is insane." Ethan let a beat pass, then another. He checked his watch. A small movement. But Rebecca saw it. Expensive. Too expensive. It didn't match the hoodie, didn't match the shoes. Something flickered behind her eyes. Gone just as fast. "Coach seat," she said, voice firm now. "Or you take the next flight. Those are your options. Not a negotiation. A box." Ethan nodded once. Slow. Understanding. "May I speak with your district manager?" he asked. Rebecca let out a short laugh. Not loud, but sharp enough to cut. "The district manager?" she repeated. "Sir, I am the senior supervisor on duty. I have full authority here." "I understand," Ethan said. And he did. That was the problem. I'd still like to escalate. You can file a complaint online like everyone else. Everyone else. The words hung in the air. Behind Ethan, the woman from row 3 stepped forward. "That's not right," she said. "He showed you everything. I saw it." Rebecca turned to her. "Ma'am, this is not your concern." "I'm a paying customer," the woman shot back, "and I'm watching you remove someone who hasn't done anything wrong." More voices now. I saw it too. They didn't even check properly. This is discrimination. Rebecca's grip tightened on the clipboard. The situation was slipping. Fast. She stepped forward, reclaiming space. "Sir," she said to Ethan, louder now, "for everyone, you need to make a decision. Coach seat or leave the airport." Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, dialed. The movement was small, but the effect wasn't. The crowd quieted. Instinctively, they felt it. Something was changing. Ethan turned slightly away as the call connected. "Yeah," he said, voice low. "Start without me." A pause. "I'll handle this personally." He ended the call, turned back. Rebecca was watching him now, closely. "Who are you calling?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to, because the energy had shifted again. Not outward, inward. Like pressure building beneath the surface. And everyone there, even Rebecca, could feel it. The silence didn't last. It cracked. One notification, then another, then dozens. Phones lit up across the gate like a chain reaction. A young man near the window glanced down at his screen, frowned, then looked up at Ethan again. "This is live," he muttered. "This is everywhere." The woman from row 3, Dr. Allison Parker, didn't lower her phone this time. Her voice was steady, but sharper now. "People are watching this in real time," she said, almost to Rebecca, almost to everyone. Thousands. Rebecca didn't respond, but she heard it. You could see it in the way her shoulders tightened just slightly. Behind her, one of the gate agents leaned in and whispered something. Rebecca didn't look at him. She didn't break posture, but her jaw shifted. Control was slipping, and she knew it. Ethan stood in the center of it all. Still, calm, untouched by the rising noise around him. His phone buzzed again. This time he didn't ignore it. He glanced down. "Board assembled, awaiting your call." He locked the screen, lifted his head, and for the first time, his presence changed. Not louder, heavier. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice carrying without effort, cutting through the noise like it belonged there. "I apologize for the delay." The crowd stilled. Instinctively, even the ones recording leaned in closer. Ethan's tone wasn't defensive. It wasn't angry. It was controlled, measured, authority without volume. "I know you all have places to be," he continued. "Flights to catch. People waiting." Rebecca felt it. That shift. This wasn't a man trying to get back on a plane. This was something else. Something she hadn't accounted for. "Sir," she said, stepping forward, trying to pull the moment back. "This is not the time for—" Ethan raised a hand slightly. Not aggressive. Not dismissive. Just enough. And she stopped her. That alone changed everything, because she hadn't been stopped all day. "Before we move forward," Ethan said, eyes scanning the crowd, not rushing, not missing a single face. "I think everyone deserves to understand what's actually happening here." The words landed. Heavy. Deliberate. The businessman from row 4 stepped closer. The woman with the phone adjusted her angle. A teenager near the gate lifted his camera higher. Rebecca's radio crackled at her shoulder. She ignored it. For the first time, Ethan reached down, slowly, deliberately, opened his worn leather briefcase. The same one that had been dismissed the moment he boarded. Inside, everything was precise, organized, intentional, not clutter, not casual, prepared. He pulled out a small leather card holder, paused, just long enough, then selected one card, singular, important. He stepped forward, closed the distance between himself and Rebecca, and handed it to her. She took it automatically, still holding authority in her posture, still expecting nothing. Her eyes dropped to the card. Read. Stopped. Read again. The colour drained from her face. Not slowly. Instantly. Like something had been pulled out from under her. Around them, the crowd leaned in. Trying to see. Trying to understand. Dr. Parker shifted slightly, angling her phone just enough to catch the card in frame. The businessman next to her pulled out his own phone, already typing, searching, verifying. Rebecca's hand trembled, just enough to notice. "Mister," she started, stopped, swallowed, looked up at Ethan, and for the first time, she wasn't in control, because the name on that card didn't match the man they had all decided he was. Not even close. Behind her, someone whispered, "Wait, is that?" Another voice, louder now, sharper, cutting through the tension. No way. Phones moved faster. Search results loaded, eyes widened, the air shifted, not gradually, violently. Because in a matter of seconds, the story had changed, and everyone could feel it, even before a single word was spoken. Because whatever was written on that card, it had just rewritten everything. Rebecca's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes stayed locked on the card like it might change if she blinked. It didn't. Ethan didn't rush her, didn't explain. He let the silence do the work. "Say it," the businessman from row 4 muttered under his breath, eyes glued to his phone screen. "Say it out loud." Rebecca swallowed. Her voice, when it came, wasn't the same voice that had been issuing orders minutes ago. "Ethan. Brooks," she read, barely above a whisper. A beat. Then, Chief Executive Officer, Brooks Industries. The words didn't echo. They dropped. Heavy, final, irreversible. Someone in the crowd exhaled sharply. Another voice cut through, louder now. "Brooks Industries. That's a multi-billion-dollar company." Phones moved faster. Screens lit brighter. Searches confirmed what the card had already said. Revenue reports, news articles, corporate profiles. Real. All of it. Dr. Parker lowered her phone for a second, just to look at Ethan directly. "Oh my God," she whispered. The man beside her didn't bother whispering. "They own half the logistics network in the Midwest," he said, eyes wide. "This guy's not just rich, he's connected." Ethan stood still, exactly where he had been. Same hoodie, same jeans. Nothing had changed, except everything. Rebecca's hand was still trembling. She looked up at him, searching his face now, trying to reconcile what she was seeing with what she had decided earlier. It didn't fit. It couldn't. She started, voice cracking slightly. "This doesn't change the situation." But it had, and everyone knew it. Ethan tilted his head slightly. "No," he said calmly. "It doesn't." That answer hit harder than anything else, because he wasn't using it. Not yet. Behind them, the gate agent stepped back instinctively, as if distance could undo what had just happened. Lauren had reappeared at the edge of the crowd, drawn out of the aircraft by the noise, her face tightening as she pushed forward. "What's going on?" she demanded. No one answered her. They were all looking at Ethan. Rebecca finally lowered the card, but she didn't let go of it, like it might disappear if she did. Ethan glanced at his watch. A small movement. Precise. "Right about now," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Your headquarters should be calling." Rebecca frowned. "What?" As if on cue, her radio crackled sharply at her shoulder. "Supervisor Collins, you need to contact headquarters immediately. Priority 1. The voice was urgent. Not routine, not calm. Priority 1. Rebecca froze. Slowly she reached for the radio. didn't respond. Not yet. Her eyes flicked back to Ethan. He was already watching her, waiting, not anxious, certain. "How did you?" she started. Ethan didn't answer, because he didn't need to. Behind her, the crowd had grown. More passengers had stepped off the plane. More people from the terminal had gathered. Phones were everywhere now. Angles, streams, comments flying faster than anyone could read. A woman near the back said it out loud, voice trembling with disbelief. They tried to throw him out of first class. Another voice followed, louder. Because of how he looks. Lauren's face drained. She understood now. Too late. Captain Reynolds appeared at the edge of the group, pushing through, his expression already tense. "What's happening?" he asked. No one answered him directly. The older security officer stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough. "You might want to look that name up," he said. Reynolds frowned. Then he did. "Phone out, search, scroll." Stop. His posture changed, subtly but completely. The certainty was gone, replaced by something else, something heavier. Ethan watched all of it. Every reaction, every shift, every realization landing in real time. And still, he didn't raise his voice, didn't step forward, didn't demand anything. Because this moment, this exact moment, was doing more damage than anything he could have said. Rebecca's phone rang. Not the radio, her phone. She looked down at the screen. The name made her go pale. She looked back at Ethan, then answered. "Rebecca Collins." A pause. Her posture straightened instantly. Yes, she's here. Another pause. Longer. Her eyes flicked to Ethan again. "They want to speak with you," she said quietly. For the first time since this began, she wasn't giving an order. She was asking. Ethan didn't take the phone immediately. He looked at it. Then at Rebecca. Then at the crowd. Measured. Deliberate. Like he was deciding how much of this moment belonged to him and how much belonged to everyone watching. "Put it on speaker," he said. Not loud, but absolute. Rebecca hesitated. Just a fraction. Then obeyed. She tapped the screen. The call connected. A voice came through, sharp, controlled, carrying authority that didn't need volume. "Rebecca, is that Ethan Brooks with you?" The entire gate leaned in. "Yes," Rebecca said, her voice tight. "He's here." A beat. "Put him on." Rebecca extended the phone. This time, both hands. Ethan took it. Steady, unrushed. "Victoria," he said. No introduction, no title, just the name. On the other end, the shift was immediate. "Ethan," the voice replied. "I just got out of an emergency board session. What exactly is happening at Gate 23? Every word landed. Emergency board session. This wasn't a complaint anymore. This was escalation. Ethan turned slightly, positioning himself so the crowd could hear, so the cameras could see. "This is Flight 447, he said. "I was removed from my paid first-class seat, despite presenting valid documentation. Your crew called security, without verifying facts. The situation has been recorded. It is currently live across multiple platforms. Silence. Not here. On the other end. Then, please tell me that's not accurate. It is." The weight of that truth settled instantly. Phones adjusted again. Comments flooded. Someone whispered, "She sounds scared." Ethan didn't react. He continued. "Your stock is already moving," he said. "Down approximately 1.4% in the last hour." A murmur moved through the crowd. People checked their phones. Confirmed it. Real-time consequences. "Jesus Christ," Victoria muttered. Not quiet enough. Ethan's tone didn't change. "Victoria, are you familiar with Section 12.3 of our shareholder agreement?" A pause. Longer this time. "The material incident clause. Correct." Dr. Parker, standing just feet away, whispered to the man beside her. "He's not complaining. He's activating governance." The man nodded slowly, eyes wide. Ethan continued. Discrimination against passengers constitutes a material incident. That triggers review, oversight, and potential restructuring. Captain Reynolds felt it. In his chest, in his throat. This wasn't a passenger problem anymore. This was corporate exposure. Ethan, Victoria said, her voice tighter now, stripped of distance. What do you need? The question hung. Heavy. Final. Ethan didn't answer right away. He let the silence stretch. Let the weight build. Then, first, he said, voice calm, controlled. Your crew needs to understand the scale of what they've created. This is no longer an internal issue. This is public, legal, financial. Rebecca's grip on her clipboard tightened. Lauren looked like she might step back, but there was nowhere to go. Second, Ethan continued, I need immediate corrective action. Not statements, not apologies. Action that demonstrates equal treatment across all passengers. Victoria didn't hesitate this time. Whatever you need. Ethan's eyes moved across the crowd. 50 people now. Maybe more. Thousands online. Every lens pointed at him. And third, he said, quieter now but sharper. This is not about me. That landed harder than anything else. Then what is it about? Victoria asked. Ethan didn't look at the phone. He looked at the people, all of them. Watching? Waiting. It's about the passengers who don't have this platform, he said. The ones who get told to move, and just move. Silence. Total. Even the background noise of the terminal seemed to fade. Victoria exhaled slowly. What are your terms? There it was. Not a request. Not a negotiation. A submission. Ethan shifted his weight slightly, adjusted his grip on the phone, and for the first time since this began, he stepped forward. Into it. Because now, he wasn't reacting anymore. He was deciding what came next. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The entire gate was already silent. First, he said, steady, controlled, the personnel directly involved in this incident need to be terminated. The words landed like a verdict. Lauren's breath caught. It was visible. A sharp inhale she couldn't hide. Captain Reynolds closed his eyes for half a second, just long enough to feel it. Rebecca didn't move. She couldn't. Second, Ethan continued, mandatory bias recognition training for all customer-facing staff. Not optional. Not symbolic. Measurable. Victoria's voice came through the phone. Agreed. Too fast. No hesitation. Because she understood the alternative. Third, Ethan said, an independent reporting system. Anonymous. Managed by a third party. Passengers and employees must be able to report incidents without fear. Done. Phones moved again. People were typing, recording, capturing every word. This wasn't private. This was precedent. Ethan didn't pause. Fourth, he said, a dedicated fund for diversity and inclusion initiatives. Not for optics. For implementation. Rebecca blinked. She knew what that meant. Money. Real money. Approved, Victoria said. Ethan shifted slightly, and now the room felt it. Something else was coming. Fifth, he said, a public acknowledgement. Not a vague statement. A direct admission of failure. Victoria hesitated, for the first time. A small pause. But everyone heard it. Ethan, that exposes us. You're already exposed. The words cut clean, sharp, unavoidable. Ethan didn't raise his tone, but it carried. There are thousands of people watching this live, he continued. Your stock is already reacting. This is not about exposure. This is about control. A long silence followed, on both sides. Then, agreed. The word felt heavier this time, more expensive. The crowd shifted, not louder, but deeper. They understood now. This wasn't just a man getting his seat back. This was something bigger. Much bigger. But Ethan wasn't finished. There's more, he said. The phrase tightened the air again. Even Victoria didn't speak. She waited. Everyone did. Ethan glanced at his watch, then back up. Implementation, he said. 72 hours. That broke it. That's not realistic, a voice cut in from the phone. Another executive, sharper, defensive. Operational changes at that scale require. Ethan didn't let him finish. When there's a weather crisis, he said calmly, you reorganize your entire network in under 6 hours. Silence. Again. You already have the systems, he continued. You just need the will. No one interrupted him this time, because they couldn't, because he was right. Rebecca felt it in her chest. That shift. From defense to surrender. What exactly do you want completed in 72 hours? Victoria asked. Her voice had changed. Not resistant. Focused. Ethan didn't hesitate. Terminations executed within 24 hours. Training modules deployed within 48. Reporting system live within 72. Each point landed like a strike. Clear, specific, unavoidable. And if we fail? Victoria asked quietly. Ethan looked straight ahead. Not at the phone. Not at Rebecca. At the crowd. At the cameras. At the witnesses. Then Brooks Industries divests, he said. And I recommend every partner company in our network do the same. The impact was immediate. Visible. People in the crowd looked at each other. Even those who didn't fully understand corporate structure understood one thing. That was not a threat. That was leverage. Real, massive, final. Victoria didn't respond right away. No one did. Because the weight of it needed time to settle. Then, we accept all conditions. No hesitation this time. No negotiation. Just acceptance. A quiet exhale moved through the crowd. Not relief. Recognition. Something had just changed. Not just here. Not just today. Ethan nodded once. Small. Controlled. But there was one more thing. He shifted the phone slightly in his hand. And one final requirement. The words tightened everything again. Even the air. Executive accountability, he said. Compensation tied to measurable improvements in equal treatment. That landed differently. Higher. Closer to the top. Starting with you, Victoria. Silence. Total. Every camera locked in. Every breath held. Because this was the line, and everyone knew it. Victoria didn't speak immediately. Seconds passed. Long enough to feel, long enough to matter. Then, agreed. The word didn't just end the conversation, it sealed it. Because now, there was no going back. No one moved for a second. Not Rebecca, not Lauren, not even the security officers. It was over. But it didn't feel finished. Ethan lowered the phone slowly and handed it back to Rebecca. She took it like it carried weight now. Not authority. Consequence. Thank you, she said. Not firm. Not controlled. Human. Ethan gave a slight nod, then turned to the crowd. 50 faces. Maybe more. Phones still raised, still recording, but something had shifted. This wasn't spectacle anymore, it was witness. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, voice steady, carrying across the gate without effort. I apologize again for the delay. No one interrupted. No one complained, because now they understood what had just happened. I know many of you have connections to make, he continued. Plans waiting on the other side of this flight. A man near the back lowered his phone slightly. A woman beside him wiped her eyes without realizing it. Ethan paused. Let the moment settle. Sometimes, he said, quieter now. A delay serves a larger purpose. That line stayed in the air. Not dramatic. True. Dr. Parker stepped forward, lowering her phone completely this time. You didn't just fix this, she said. You changed something. Ethan looked at her. Not as a crowd, as a person. We'll see, he replied. Because he knew this wasn't finished yet. Not really. Behind him, movement snapped back into place. Fast, controlled, urgent, Rebecca turned sharply, already issuing orders. Get a replacement crew ready. Now. Her voice was back, but different. Less absolute, more precise. A gate agent rushed off. Another picked up a phone, speaking fast, relaying instructions. Security stepped aside. No longer a barrier, but a boundary. Lauren stood frozen for a moment. Then 2 airport officials approached her. Quiet. Direct. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us." She didn't argue, didn't speak, just nodded once, and walked. Captain Reynolds remained where he was, shoulders tight, eyes fixed somewhere past Ethan. A supervisor approached him next, voice low, controlled. Credentials. Review. Immediate. The structure was shifting, right in front of everyone. Ethan watched it. Not with satisfaction, with clarity, because this was the cost. He picked up his briefcase, closed it, the same worn leather that had been dismissed an hour ago. Now, untouchable. Rebecca turned back to him. Her expression had changed completely. "Mr. Brooks," she said, "careful now. Your seat is ready. Not offered. Returned." Ethan held her gaze for a moment, then nodded. No smile, no victory, just acknowledgement. As he walked back toward the aircraft, the crowd parted again. But this time, it wasn't curiosity. It was respect. Phones followed him, still recording, but differently. Not hunting for conflict, capturing resolution. Dr. Parker stepped aside, watching him pass. "How did you stay so calm?" she asked quietly. Ethan paused, just for a second, then looked at her. "Anger is temporary," he said. "Systems are permanent." He stepped forward again, up the jet bridge, back into the aircraft, the same cabin, the same seat. But nothing was the same. Passengers straightened as he passed. Conversations didn't restart. They waited, watched. Ethan reached seat 1A, set his briefcase down, sat. The sunlight was still there, same angle, same warmth, but it felt different now, because this time he wasn't being questioned, he wasn't being measured, he was being seen. Outside, the aircraft doors closed. The delay clock stopped. 53 minutes. Not short, not small, but not wasted. As the plane began to push back from the gate, a quiet realization settled over everyone on board. They weren't just leaving for Chicago. They were leaving behind something that had just been exposed and carrying forward something that had just begun. 72 hours later, the system didn't look the same. It moved faster, cleaner, sharper. And somewhere inside a quiet office overlooking downtown Chicago, Ethan Brooks sat behind a wide oak desk, reviewing the aftermath line by line. "Terminations completed," his assistant said, standing just inside the doorway. "Lauren Mitchell and Captain Reynolds, effective immediately. Cause documented." Ethan nodded once, eyes still on the report in front of him. No reaction. Just acknowledgement. "And Rebecca Collins?" he asked. "Demoted," she replied. "Reassigned to internal training. Mandatory compliance review." Ethan flipped the page. Every detail was there. Names, times, actions taken, not promises. Proof. "What about the training rollout?" he asked. "Live as of 6 this morning. Every frontline employee is scheduled for completion within 30 days. Ethan leaned back slightly. Measured. Thinking. Not satisfied. Not yet. "And the reporting system?" "Active," she said. "Third-party managed. First complaint logged within 2 hours of launch." That got his attention. He looked up. "Already?" She nodded. "Ground staff incident. Denver. Under review." Ethan exhaled slowly. Not frustration, recognition, because that was the point. Not perfection. Visibility. Accountability. His phone buzzed on the desk. A news alert. Atlantic Airways rebounds after rapid reform. Shares up 3.2%. He didn't smile, because this was never about the stock. Another call came in. He answered. "Ethan." "Marcus," the voice on the other end said. Controlled but lighter now. "Victoria Hayes." I wanted you to see the first metrics personally. A screen share appeared. Data filled the display. Complaints down. Response times faster. Internal reports up. Employees speaking. Finally. This is what change looks like, she said. Ethan studied the numbers. Not impressed, not yet, but closer. It's what accountability looks like, he replied. A pause. Then, you were right, Victoria said quietly. We didn't have a system problem. We had a culture problem. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Because that truth, that was harder. Culture follows structure, he said. Fix the system, and people start to follow. After the call ended, Ethan stood and walked to the window. Chicago stretched out below him. Steel, glass, movement. A city built by people who had been told no more times than yes. His reflection stared back at him. Same hoodie, same man. Nothing had changed, and everything had. His phone buzzed again. A different number. He answered. Dr. Parker, he said. I just wanted to tell you, she said, voice steady but filled with something deeper. We're implementing the same reporting system at our hospital. Ethan closed his eyes for a brief second. That was the impact. Good, he said. People are talking about this everywhere, she continued. Not just airlines, transportation, healthcare, corporate boards. Ethan looked back out over the city. That was the real shift. Not the plane, not the seat, the system. Then it's working, he said. After the call, he returned to his desk. A stack of letters waited, printed, handwritten, emails converted to paper, stories, real ones, people who had been told to move, people who had moved. Until now, Ethan picked one up, read, set it down, then another. The pattern was clear. It always had been. No one noticed until someone forced them to. He sat back, still, calm, controlled, the way he had been from the start, because this was never about proving who he was. It was about proving what should have been obvious. Respect isn't earned by appearance. It isn't granted by status. It is required, every time, for everyone. The system had shifted, not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to start something bigger than one flight, bigger than one company, bigger than one man. And if this story made you feel something, don't let it stop here. Like the video. Subscribe for more stories that matter. And in the comments, write 3 words. Demand real change.